When you look at FATA, how much do you think you're getting the job done as an entire region there? How much progress do you feel that you're making?
I think it is a good progress as far as the Army operations are concerned. Wherever we had determined objectives, we were able to achieve those objectives in that. And therefore, you must also keep this thing in mind as to what were the situation when the Army had not been deployed or launched in this area. So the area had a free run of all those militants and miscreants spilling over effects in the frontier region area also. And those were the townships and the towns which were facing the brunt of all those militants.
You say you're getting the job done. Clearly you're satisfied with the progress you're making, even though there's more to be done. Then what's your reaction when you hear across the world U.S. military officials, the CIA saying it's not enough, they're heading in the wrong direction, more needs to be done? What's your reaction when you hear that?
I say it's not a fair comment. It's not a judgment. Ground realities would dictate that what are the constraints of the operations here and what the objectives we had determined. We had achieved those objectives. Take example of South Waziristan operations. We were able to completely choke the area. We were able to force the militants to sue for unilateral ceasefire. And we had also were able to make them stop their attacks onto the security forces, the FCs, and also into the cities. So this is all result of an operation here. Otherwise, there was a free run for the militants.
The head of the CIA, other military officials in the U.S. Describe FATA as a clear and present danger to the U.S. They say the next attack on the U.S. will originate from FATA. What's your reaction to that assessment?
I think, again, it's not a fair judgment in that because everything cannot originate from an area where we have the presence of the security forces. There's a huge deployment of over 120,000 security personnel in the area. And most of the area is under the observation of security forces. I do not deny that there are certain areas which may have been used for this kind of activity. I also do not rule out that the slippages are made or the crossings do take place in certain areas. But look at the effort of the government and the army on this side. It is over 1,000 checkposts which have been established on the border. There have been fencing proposal also. We have fenced about 35 kilometers of the border crossing. We also had given a proposal to mine the known crossings, but then it was not agreed upon. We had also tried the telemetric system of the formal crossing areas. Again, the other side, the coalition did not agree to that, etc. And these are the efforts of the army and the government on this side. But if you see on the other side, it's so barely 100 checkposts. Look at the size of the force. I mean, half of them is only operational. And if you expect that the same kind of effects you want to create to completely seal the area and totally finish off the activities of the militants, I think both the sides should not start blaming each other, because the blame game would not be in the advantage or for good of both the sides.
To those who say the Pakistani Army is going soft and playing nice with militants, which is exactly what they want, what do you say?
You see, Army's operation had an objective, and that was to restore a very bad situation. The situation, as I said, was very, very bad in this area. So we have carried out the operation, and as I said, to an effect, we have created that situation where now it is for the political prong, the government, to whatever they want to engage the militants, the tribes, the elders of the area in order to evolve a political solution of the area.
You hear this all the time. The attacks happening in Afghanistan are originated here in Pakistan. What do you say to that?
That's incorrect. I ruled that out. It is not like that. As I said, I don't deny that the crossings do take place in certain areas that cannot be completely stopped because of the nature of the border. And the border is porous, the tribes are on both the sides. But we have established about 1,000 checkposts. We try our best to stop this kind of crossing. But is it the responsibility of one side only? Isn't this the joint responsibility of the coalition to stop the cross-border?
A couple of more questions. You had a strong reaction. You weren't very pleased with the drone missile the other day. Tell us your reaction to that and why you were not very pleased.
Again, it is this kind of attack is not going to help either of the member of the coalition. It may create reaction, it may create difficulties for the one side. So I'm sure this is not going to create an effect which would be good for the coalition.
Does NATO, does the coalition tell you when they want to attack, when they want to launch a missile, do they tell you? Does the coalition, they don't tell you? What do you think about that?
It's not fair. As I said, that it's the kind of effects that it creates. It's not only local, but also it is within the country. And that is not good for any coalition.
Yeah. The past few months, there's been a drop in suicide bombings and attacks in Pakistan. How much do you attribute that to the work that you're doing here?
Yes, it's a great deal of that. It is because of this operation that the militants were forced to evict those areas where they were planning and carrying out these kind of training. And we have been able to successfully smash all those training centers which were in this area, the hideouts, the factories. As you see, one behind me is a hospital which was being used by the militants for making the suicide jackets and the IEDs. So these kind of things were smashed in these areas. So because of this success, I think there was a great drop in the militant suicide.
One last question. Pakistan has long been a partner with the U.S. in its so-called war on terror. What's more important to you, helping the U.S. in Afghanistan or taking care of Pakistan?
Both. I think both has its importance. We are part of the coalition. What we request is to understand each other's constraints and the difficulties, and do not create difficulties for each other.
Are NATO forces, are U.S. forces making things difficult for you?
Well, I won't say that, but an act of this kind which happened in Chandola, etc., it certainly creates difficulty for one side.